My name is Joe Bressler. I'm a freelance director and occasional cinematographer based in Brooklyn, New York. I've been in the industry for about 10 years and got my start in documentary before moving into commercial directing. The all-in, all-one spot was a commercial I shot with my friend Nicholas Heller, aka New York Nico, for the New York Knicks in the spring of 2023. Nico and I met sometime around 2015 when we were both getting started in our filmmaking careers. We were actually covering the same event for different clients, but we kept in touch and have continued to work together since. The job came up about 2 weeks before it was supposed to air, so production needed to happen pretty quickly. The idea behind the piece was that we would be interviewing a number of notable New Yorkers about the atmosphere of the city when the Knicks are in the playoffs, which is obviously electric.
New York forever!
The project would involve us shooting over 3 days in about 20 or so different locations all over the city, often spending only about 30 to 45 minutes in each one. So we had to be very quick with our setup and mobile as a team to accomplish this job. And fun fact, I was having a gout flare-up while shooting this commercial and I could barely walk the entire time. Around the time we shot this piece, Alexa 35s were finally starting to make it in the hands of folks who'd put their pre-orders in around announcement time. My first AC for the job, James Lamberg, was one of those people, so we were very excited to use this camera for the first time on this project. What I loved about the upgrade was, of course, the famously increased dynamic range in the highlights, and I also found the new color science incredibly useful. Nico and I traditionally use Angenieux zooms when we work together, so for this shoot we used the Angenieux Optimo 16 to 40mm. I like working with this lens because it has a really useful zoom range for doc-style commercials, and it allowed us to capture wide-angle shots as well as portraits without swapping lenses. We used a quarter Hollywood black magic filter, which softens the overall image and creates a bloom around the highlights. We used a Preston Micro Force zoom control to achieve the in-shot slow zooms you see throughout the piece. The Preston is basically a little button that attaches to a pan handle, and it allows you to control the zoom on a lens via a connected motor. Everything in this spot was shot handheld on an easy rig. We also captured some 16mm footage to cut in on a Bolex H16 on Kodak 500T. The locations we were filming at consisted of a variety of interiors and exteriors that we did not have the opportunity to scout ahead of time. As a result, we kept our approach as nimble as possible by limiting camera equipment to what would fit on our cart, by using small LED mats wherever possible, and by leaning more into subtracting light than adding it in our exteriors. Our process for each location was to load in, take a brief walk through, then Nico and I would discuss where the best frame would be, and we would light, frame up, and shoot the interview on the Alexa, and then afterwards pick up B-roll on both cameras. Our overall approach to lighting was to augment whatever was happening in the room or outside naturally with soft light for a clean and vibrant commercial look. This led to a fairly repeatable workflow of either scrimming, bouncing, or shading daylight for each exterior location, or keying with light mats or Amaran F22Cs for interiors. We also used the Astera Titan tube lights for edge light a lot of the time. We used all of these fixtures because they were the smallest and easiest to quickly manipulate because of their size, form factor, and ability to run off battery. The F22C gave us the option to use full RGB when necessary. Sometimes we had to shoot at open businesses or at exteriors we did not have permitted, so overall we made sure our footprint was super light. So this shot was done outside at a park in Manhattan, and I believe it was the first shot we made in the whole commercial. We keyed this one with just the light mat 4, just out of frame on the left. We did not have this location or any exteriors permitted, so we made sure to get this done as quickly as possible. In New York, you can film most places without a permit as long as you don't have any light stands or tripods on the ground. We had light stands on the ground, but we worked as quickly as possible so we didn't get kicked out. It was super cool to have the opportunity to shoot on the floor of the stock exchange. It's kind of funny how quickly we were in and out of here too. Getting through the New York Stock Exchange's security with about 10 to 12 people, including client and agency, was kind of similar to going through airport security in that we had to have all of our equipment scanned and x-rayed. This shot is just keyed with the F22C on frame right. Our goal was just to create some dimension on the talent's face that felt like it could have been reasonably motivated by the overall wash of lighting in the environment. Katz is another location that felt pretty surreal to shoot in. We did not have the opportunity to shut this landmark deli down, so we once again rolled in our F22C to key. We threw up some negative behind the camera and shot while they were open. This shot is another example of how awesome the color science on the Alexa 35 is, because the amount of detail held in that neon sign in the top left of frame is super lovely. This shot of Tracy Morgan courtside at MSG, we set up during practice and lit a stand-in. We keyed again with the F22C and used a scrim to eliminate shadows as much as possible from the stadium's overheads. Once Tracy was there, we made some slight tweaks based on how he looked in the light. We rolled and he was there and gone in under 10 minutes. The finished product needed to air 2 weeks after we finished shooting, so post happened pretty quickly. We only had one round to include the 16mm footage due to the processing time, and we did the grade the day before the commercial first hit TV screens.